Jai Hind everyone. Myself Dr. Inderjeet Kaur, Professor at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the usability used in the design process of HCI human computer interface. So, the outline for this lecture will be discussing about the obstacles and pitfalls in the development path, then designing for people, what are the different five commandments, then the usability for design process, how we find the irritating characters, then the certain practical measures of usability and some objective measures of usability. So, starting from the obstacles and pitfalls in the development path, nobody ever gets it right for the first time. Development, it is full of surprises. Then good design requires living in the sea of changes. Everybody wants the good design, but it requires a lot of time and changes. Then designers, they also need good tools. Then we need to think about the performance for the design goals, and people, they may make mistakes while they can also use a good system. Then the common pitfalls are, there is no early analysis and understanding between the user requirements and expectation is done. That's the major pitfall of any good design. If it is being done, if requirements are very well understood in the beginning, then there are very less chances for error coming. Then we should have a focus of using design features or different components. Then no usability testing, no common design, or there is a common team vision, and if there is a poor communication. So, all these are the reasons why our system will fail. Then designing for people, what are the 5 commandments? The complexity of a graphical or web interface, it will allow to change any problems that are being occurring. So, these obstacles to design, they always exist. Our task is to eliminate them if we are following the design strategy. So, first is to gain a complete understanding of users and their task. The users are the customers. So, today people, they expect a level of design sophistication from all the interfaces. So, including websites, the product, the system or the website, that must be geared according to the person's need, not according to the thought of developers. So, if there is some gap between the technical abilities, goals and attitudes between the team, means between the user and developer, obviously the problem will come and it will lead to the failure of the system. Then second is, we should solicit early and ongoing user involvement, and we should involve the users in the design from the beginning. That provides a direct conduct of the knowledge they possess about the job, task and need. So, if there is an involvement between the developer to confront the people resistance to change or a common human trait, if we dislike the change for a variety of reasons, among them also known as the unknown fear, then the lack of identification with the system, involvement in the design that removes the unknown and it gives the user a stake in the system and they identify it. So, that is, proper communication is required between the ongoing project, between the team, entire team, the developer team and the user team. Then third one is to perform the rapid prototyping and testing. Prototyping and testing the product, it will quickly identify the problems and it will allow us to develop the solutions. So, the design process, we consider it very complex and the human behavior is still not understood. So, prototyping and testing must be performed during all the stages of development. It should not be done only in the last stages. Then fourth one is to modify and iterate the design as much as necessary while while going to the proceeding the design phase. So while our design is proceeding through a series of stages, problems they are detected in one stage, then they are being solved by the developer, then at the next level then also be problem coming. So we should establish the user performance and acceptance criteria, and we should continue the testing and modify till all the goals are being fulfilled. Then fifth one is to integrate the design of all the system components, means the software and the documentation, the help function, the training manuals for all the important elements of a graphical system or website, and they should be developed concurrently. Concurrent development of all the pieces will point out the possible problems earlier in the design process, and they will allow us to be addressed more effectively. Then comes to the usability. Usability was being first addressed by Bennett in 1979 to describe the effectiveness of human performance. In the following years, again, this was being proposed by Shackle in 1981, then being again modified by Bennett in 1984, then again by Shackle in 1991. They defined the usability as the capability to be used by human easily and effectively. Here the term easily means to a specified level of subjective assessment, and the term effectively means to a specified level of human performance. So here we are considering both easily and effectively. Then usability assessment in the design process. Usability assessment, it should begin in the early stages of the product development cycle, and it should continue throughout the processes going. The assessment should include the user entire experience and the product important components. So the usability assessment methods, they are being discussed in 14 steps: test, test and then retest. Mendel in 1994, they listed the 10 most common usability problems in graphical system being reported by IBM usability specialists. They are: first is to have the ambiguous menus and icons, languages that permit only single direction movement through a system, then to have the input and direct manipulation limits, then highlighting and selection limitations, then to have a unclear step sequences, then more steps to manage the interface than to perform the task, then there is a complex linkage between different applications, then inadequate feedback and confirmation, lack of system anticipation and intelligence, and inadequate error message, help tutorials and documentation. The various irritating characters, they are the visual clutter, then impaired information readability, incomprehensible components, annoying the various distractions, confusing navigation, inefficient operations, inefficient page scrolling and information overload. We define the visual clutter as a lack of white space, meaningless graphics, and unnecessary and wasteful decoration, often turned into pages into jungles of visual noise. We can say the meaningful content, it lies hidden within the uniting forest of vines and trees, forcing the user to waste and countless minutes searching for what is relevant. So only useful content should be displayed. Useless displayed elements, they are actually a form of visual noise. Then the impaired information readability is, the page readability is diminished by the poor developer choices made in the form of typefaces, colors and graphics. Use of innumerable typefaces or kaleidoscope colors, they give us the less impact on the screen. The person attention is directed somewhere else while he was focusing on the page. So it should be avoided. Then incomprehensible components. Some design elements give the user no clue why they are being on the screen, and what is their function. So leaving their purpose not all as obvious. So some icons and graphics, for example, shrouded in mystery, containing no text to explain, containing a hyperlink that does not work, some buttons they are being never used, forcing the user to minesweep them. A screen with a mouse to locate the object that can be used to do something. That is wasting the time, and that is used as the incomprehensible components. Then annoying the distractions. Elements constantly in motion, scrolling markways or text, blinking text, looping continually, running animations, competing with meaningful content. They for the user's eye and attention, they destroy the page's readability actually. Automatically, the presented content or the presented music or sounds, it gets interrupted. Other person's concentration. So, there are some pop-up windows that must be removed, wasting most of the user time. The person senses they are under constant attack, and the benefits they should be taken. Then is confusing navigation. Means a site structure often resemble a maze of twisting pages into which the user wanders, and it is quite soon lost. Poor, little or no organization exists. Some pages they are being blank, and they have nothing content on defined on them. Means embarking on a side trip, it can lead to a radical change in the context or a path with no signpost or landmarks, we can say. Navigation links, they lead to dead ends from which there is no return. So it should not be there on any kind of content. Boomerang you right back to the spot where you are standing without you being aware when where to go and why to go. So confusing navigation, they violates the expectation, and they give us the disturbed result and unexpected behavior. Then inefficient navigation, the person, it must transverse content free pages into what is meaningful. The entire screen, it is used to point out to another. Large graphics waste screen space, and they add to the page count. The path through the navigation maze is often long and tedious. Reams of useless data must be cited through before a need can be fulfilled. Then inefficient operations. Time is wasted doing many things. Page downloaded times, they can be excessive. Page that can contain lot of graphics, lot of maps, lot of chunky headings, it should be avoided. Then excessive or inefficient page scrolling. Long pages, they require scrolling frequently that lead to users losing context as in information. So that should be avoided. Then information overload. Poorly organized or large amount of information taxes into it is being saved into one's memory, and it can be overwhelming. So heavy mental load, it can also result from making the decision concerning which links to follow and which not to follow, giving the large number of choices are available. So for then the unused choices may be deleted. So one easily becomes buried in making the decision and information. So the requiring even minimal amount of learning to use a website, it adds to a mental load. Some other points, they are design inconsistency. We may have some outdated information that should be removed. Then stale design caused by emulation of printed documents and past systems. Some practical measures of usability that should be taken. So are people asking a lot of questions or often reaching for a manual? Are frequent expectations responses heard? Are there many irrelevant actions being performed? So based on these kind of things, we can decide ki what is the usability, what is the effectiveness of our work done. Are there many things to ignore? Do a number of people wants to use the product? So that will tell us the output, means the usability of the product. Some objective measures of usability can be discussed. Shackle in 1991, they presented the following more objective criteria for measuring the usability. First is how effective is our interface, how learnable is our interface, how flexible is our interface, and what are the attitudes of users that are using it. If they are satisfied, that means the product is usable. Then what are the things design team what are the factors that design team should consider in their mind? First is development, then human factors. We should also consider the visual design, usability assessment, the documentation, and training. This was all about the usability, various factors being used in usability. Thank you.